Yo, what up? Hello, everybody. Uh, it is May 13th, 7 o'clock p.m. EST, and you're watching the Dovecote episode 26 with Caleb, Zane, Huett. Say hi,
Hello.
Caleb.
Hi. I jumped ahead of you. I was so excited to say hello. I
You're
couldn't wait
allowed.
for an invitation.
Yeah, feel free to introduce yourself. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I am Caleb Zane Hewitt. I don't really know the title because it's mostly just is me now, but I'm the creative director of Haunted Table, and the lead designer of Triangle Agency, which is the first game of Haunted Table. Um, Triangle Agency is a game that is hopefully coming out digitally in about a month and physically later this year. We did a big Kickstarter campaign last year. It's a corporate horror and supernatural investigation game. So that's really my main deal. And then to everybody that would be watching this, then I'm also a writer of books for kids, middle grade novels. So right now I'm working on a series about Minecraft.
Hell yeah. You're gonna see a picture, not the stream. You, Caleb, Zane, Hewitt are going to see a picture of Dust Bandits from Kenshi because I need to move some tabs around. So there we go. Okay. Um, I was working on some God Game cards. But yeah, uh, I have been kind of loosely keeping an eye on Triangle Agency for a while because like I'm waiting for it to be out so that I can try it. But it seems really cool. I gave I gave kind of the preview version that y'all have a sift, which I think I'll also uh, here, I'll send. I'm gonna put in chat both that and the pre-order page, so folks can
Oh
look at
yeah, thank you
those.
so much.
Yeah, um, yeah, really cool concept for a game. I think like the I feel like you kind of won the race to create like the most interesting and compelling like uh SCP or control like RPG.
It's funny
If
to
that's accurate.
describe it as a race. I did not. We moved so slowly. Like we were in development for so long and we released it after so much time working on it. And if there was a race, it was definitely not one I was aware of,
That's
but it
fair.
is, but it is, that is nice to hear. We definitely hit at a really good time for people who love this kind of thing. We were sort of like pleasantly surprised by Alan Wake 2 kind of dropping and hitting around the time we were releasing our like test version. And as a result, a lot of people were really re-energized about some of the same uh I don't know, signifiers, genre markers that we're playing with.
Mhm.
So it was definitely very lucky. But I thank you for saying so.
Yeah, I feel like I hear a lot about games that are kind of like the thing that I think especially of is like I know there's been like a lot of unofficial and official SCP games that have like kind of flown under the radar like, and I think having I think it's good. I love a good pastiche that's doing its own thing. I think the corporate emphasis in Triangle Agency is really neat. Um,
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was the most important thing to me when we were working on it was really establishing a different identity for it and leaning into the angle of it being corporate rather than a government organization turned out to be like the most fruitful possible choice we could have gone down. We had more to say about it. It became more unique in the telling. I love it.
Hell yeah. Um, yeah. I guess kind of from there, is there anything else that you're working on right now that you that you're able to or would like to tell folks about?
Oh my gosh, let me see. Really, no. At this moment, my whole life is the layout of these books because we
Hmm.
have hit a point where from what we originally imagined to now, the two books that are being released at the same time, which is the core rulebook and then our vault book of missions that are 12 missions, each written by a different writer. Um, Combined now are over 500 pages of like
Wow.
8.5 by 11 like real real ass pages. And I uh so every day is working on layout for that. I am assisting more than I am like directly doing the layout. I've been just kind of helping to try to move it along. But it's such a big job that every day is a little bit of that, a little bit of editing, a little bit of writing. But long term, the other stuff we're working on, we're trying to like stay excited about the world we're building with this game and give it a few other really fun supports over the next year or so with like other types of missions, other ways to play. Um, so I'm doing the very early versions of those, but other than my Minecraft novels and the trying to get this book ready to go, there's not a whole lot going on in my life at all.
I just made a connection and I'm steepling my fingers as I think about this because a very early episode of the Dovecote with my good friend Lilith Lilac Leviathan, um, there was a we didn't have enough news stories, so we were like, hey, let's look at a Reddit thread about how someone who's trying to make a Minecraft TTRPG. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very curious, uh, unofficially, because I know that the work that you do is like, connected to Mojang. Unofficially, what would your like, what would your pitch or what would be your perspective on like what would a Minecraft teacher for you look like?
Oh my God. It would be tough.
Hmm.
Um, it would be tough primarily because Minecraft is so, as a game, is so committed to the social aspect being between players rather than between you and the world so
Hmm.
much. You know, there's elements of that. There are some like NPCs and mobs that you can interact with and feel a sort of social energy, but TTRPGs are so social. I think if I was really having to make a pitch about it, it would be a like basically a resource management game. We would end up really
Hmm.
close to Ryutama style kind of game where you are developing archetypes based on the kinds of players you might be, and you're putting a lot of emphasis on travel and like negotiation between the environment and your own survival. Uh, do I think that it would necessarily that version would necessarily turn out to be the most interesting? I don't know, but I think if you were really trying to stay true to Minecraft and make a good TTRPG, that's probably the best angle you could take.
Yeah, I
Very
think
much negotiating with the wild.
we wound up in a similar spot with it. It's definitely a difficult one, and I think you'd also want something that was like, you know, as you said with like Triangle Agency, like something that is playing with the genre and the style, but also like doing its own thing.
Well,
Um,
that's actually what I was just thinking when you say that is so part of what's happening in my series is that it's a bunch of kids who basically are dealing with a brand new AI that has been born inside Minecraft that they're having to take care of. That's like the premise of my
that's fun.
series. And so I think if I was doing the most fun me version of a Minecraft TTRPG, it would be everybody wakes up. They're each a different mob that wakes up to sentience in Minecraft and are having to then
Uh,
figure out how they engage with the world that follows as closely to the video game rules as it possibly could, um, while recognizing that you are like a monster within it. I would even include probably players as a thing that you ran into.
that's fun. I also feel like there's like a celestial bodies element that you could like play with like like if you wanted to get very like micromanaging and resourcey with it, you could be like, uh like not do literal Minecraft recipes, but have it be like uh you make things and the shape of those things and the materials of those things indicate certain qualities of those things. There's something there, but also yeah, it's a
Yes.
it's a tricky thought experiment.
No,
Um
yes. I'm fully the social buddies, the Happy 99 thing coming up. I'm like my head is fully in the like draw a grid and put things on it space lately with TTRPGs. It has nothing
mhm.
to do with anything I'm working on, but whenever I'm like time to just like relax and imagine what I would work on if I had time to do anything else, I'm getting so into those grids.
Yeah, I'm similar. I have a game, Autopsy Feast, which uses like a uh it's almost like a like chemistry ball and stick style model, um, that represents like bodies, and so like if you're if like the muscle that you have as a shoulder gets lopped off, your limb and hand also come off. Uh,
Yes.
which I think is very fun. And I generally like to see more. Um, I don't know. I like things that are very like uh, maybe not I like. I'm curious to see more things that get like into that like very physical space. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I love it. I love it. I love one of the things I love about TTRPGs really is that it is like the place where all of uh my adult storytelling thinking goes. Like the stuff I love in horror and action and like intense drama all gets to go into my TTRPG work while I'm having to do a much lighter version of that and a much like lighter, sillier creative thinking in my publishing job. So every time I'm getting into a TTRPG, that's what I'm looking for. I'm like, I don't need anything cozy. I don't need anything light. I need it to get intense and heavy and difficult really fast.
Yeah, I think that's something that I definitely feel. I mean, I I guess like TTRPGs are my main creative outlet, but I'm still like I don't know. I like things to be uh, a little fucked up and weird. I think it's good. Um, Speaking of you mentioned kind of getting into grid type games. What are some games that you're like reading or playing or like want to talk about or like want folks to know about?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure everyone on your show has already been thinking about this because I'm pretty sure you did an AP of it on this channel recently. But the one thing I've been playing weekly is the J Dragon's Wizard game,
Hmm.
7-part packed, which is honestly my first real foray into playing a GM-less game at all. Um, I don't know if I've talked about this before with you, but I spent years of my life as a professional GM for kids, like groups of
Hmm.
kids. Um, so I have playing D&D like almost exclusively because that's what they all wanted. So I have this like deep history with GM'd games. I've made myself totally sick of the like D&D style of negotiating with a group of people.
Yeah.
And so playing 7-part pact and playing this game that requires so much from everybody in this very unique way and like allows everyone to flow in and out exactly as much as they need to and like create but basically have no choice but to create this very dense and chewy and fun environment has made 7-part pact like my current like most delightful delicious game that I'm playing.
It's
um
wonderful.
mhm.
It's so good.
It's so good. And every update, every change Jay makes just gets better. So that's a big one for me. And then I before that, the main stuff I've been playing has been Planet Fist,
Yeah.
by Jess Levine. And Planet Fist being a like sci-fi, very video game inspired uh, sort of revisit of the Fist rules that gives you a like almost video game lobby style combat situation where everybody is fighting on repetitive maps and respawning constantly and trying to take the point. And allowing that to provide the backdrop for some very fun, engaging, and interesting role playing moments and interpersonal character moments. And that's been my other big game I've played more than once while working on this game.
Yeah, I it's really funny because those are like I keep bringing up those two games on the show because I think they're wonderful. That and Fellowship. I'm also a big Fellowship head. But yeah, I've also been playing a lot of Seven Part Pact and Planet Fist. Um and they're both wonderful. I love something I really like about both of them is just the amount of like um I feel like they're very unpredictable and they have a lot of like kind of nooks and crannies and generative little mechanics that'll kind of spring up on you and cause weird stuff to happen. Like I
Hmm.
think of how what was it that Sleepyhead got in the AP? It was like I think it's like the Amulet of the Wizard King, Talisman of the Wizard King, where like he can't die, no one can strike blows against him, and it was just because of like a devil card. Um, it's I love when things get a little crazy, get a little silly.
Yeah, and honestly, like I mentioned with it being my first GMless game, I love it despite being so intimidated by it.
Mm.
Like I don't think the game itself is intimidating, but I jumped into playing with a lot of people who are very experienced with the style and like very excited and know exactly how to engage with it. And I feel like for the that's part of why I love it is for the first time in a long time I feel like such a like TTRPG baby in that environment. I'm like
Yeah.
learning constantly from everyone who plays it. I feel like my own brain is getting stronger just from figuring out how to interface with this really cool game.
Yeah, it's great. I love that it's both a GM-less game and also the game with the most GMs. um,
Yes.
I definitely recommend if you haven't like going back and looking at some of the like earlier stuff in that kind of milieu and like the GM-less milieu because there's some really good stuff in that area. Like I mean even just like Wanderhome is great. Uh,
Absolutely. I have a bunch of them. I just have never gotten to play them. And so
yeah,
the but I will, and I'm so into it right now that I would not be surprised if one of our next major projects is GMless.
hell yeah,
So I'm psyched. Psyched to do the research.
awesome. Um, and then, are there any games that you are looking forward to playing in the future? Anything that's coming out or work in progress that you'd like to shout out? I mean, I guess Seven Part Pact is included in that, but
Yeah,
you know,
that's definitely a work in progress. But yeah, actually, you know what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna go look at my crowdfunding in progress.
yes, good.
What have I backed that I because I am coming up blank right now, but I am sure there are a bunch of them. Um, yes, okay. So, one of them, honestly, again, going back to Fist, I'm like excited to get the actual like physical edition of Fist. I think that's going to be amazing.
Ooh, yeah.
Um, and then one that I backed earlier this year that I am just sort of like keeping an eye on, that is in development, I believe, is called Clerk and Dagger,
Oh.
um, by Dice Capital. Um, the premise of this is that everybody is a rogue accountant, but by accountant, it's almost more like bandit in this like dark fantasy setting. And what you are doing is going to steal the money, which is tied directly to the souls of these wealthy people in this dark setting.
Oh.
Um, this thing's called Soul Coins. The art is really, really
It's
beautiful.
gorgeous.
It's got this kind of like clay molded 3D energy. The everything I see about the design looks really fun, and it sounds like it's going to be pretty light. But I know that they've been in development for a little while, so I'm not sure what the current plan on when it's going to be released is. But it is beautiful, a super super fun vibe, and really like um, I really like games that are playing around with capitalism. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's
excited
fun.
to see it.
Hell yeah, this looks awesome. I had not heard of this before. That's sick.
Yeah, and then not actually the campaign hasn't happened yet, but I've been looking forward for a long time to Big Grave Fashion Fantasy by
Yeah.
Willie Opes. They have been working on this for a while. The design on it is going to be amazing. The premise of the game is that um, you are a like new fashion a new potential fashion icon in a very competitive fashion scene. And so each game session you're like building and describing an outfit. Your outfit has effects on your like stats and who you are. um, and I don't know much about the actual gameplay yet. I haven't gotten to test it, but
Mm.
everything I've heard from Will and everything I've seen of it looks uh, so fun. And I mean, they have never released a bad game. So
Yeah, it looks fantastic. We had Will on what was it, like 4 weeks ago, and it was a very very good conversation. Will's games tend to have really great layout, which I think I'm excited to see how that's kind of continued with a fashion oriented game. Um,
yes, between Big Grave and Plasmodics, like
mhm.
you should just follow Will on social media just to see the screenshots of those games in
Yeah,
progress. They're so good. And so
exactly.
different, so completely different in every possible way when you look at them. It's so good.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else that I have. I feel like I kind of blew through my normal questions. um, uh, I guess hmm.
What are you looking forward to?
What am I? Oh God. I think I've said before, Interstitial 2E for sure. Uh,
Hmm.
I really liked the first one. It was one of the first games that I went up playing. Really, really great, like Kingdom Hearts like PBTA. Just fantastic. Um,
I have not heard of this at all. Looking at
it's
it now.
yeah, it's wonderful. I nabbed a copy before the campaign ended. Um, the first game was like a little rough design wise, and it seems like they've really like you know oriented away from like kind of the more like classical PBTA style design. Like they've gone away from like stat swaps and plus ones and stuff, and gone more towards like you know you use this move and you rip out someone's heart and then you eat it and you get their powers, like that sort of shit, which
Yeah.
I'm really into. Um, and then oh gosh, what else? I guess I'm looking forward to the Planet Fist like revisions and Faithless edition. Um, and I'm trying to think of games that I'm looking forward to that aren't just things that my like friends and partners are working on, because that it tends to be like
Right.
that.
Well, honestly, the thing is that if they aren't already my friend, when I find a game that I like, then I would like to make them my friend. So very short order, usually.
That's real. I'm looking forward to my friend Lilith Lilac Leviathan's game Euphoria 2180, which is a uh like biopunk wasteland um tactical adventure game.
Ooh.
Um it's really good. You can mutate yourself. You can I have one character who like recently got a minion which they can use as like a surrogate body while they're like back at home, like sending hacks through their minion to like hack enemies. Um, I have another character who their body is like covered in like nutritious fungus and plants, and so they just like scrape bits off of their body to like cook food every night. Um, it's real good. Um,
That's the dream.
Half the people he knows because he reviewed their games. Yeah, I think like I was talking about this a while back on Twitter, I think, which is like I think I mean the whole reason why I know you, I think, is because of this dynamic. I think there is like a very good dynamic in indie TTRPGs, like for the most part, where if like uh where there isn't a like there isn't a sense of proportion with like getting to know people and making connections. Um, because I've been in places where it's like you you basically don't exist if you're like slightly autistic and have under 10K like followers on any given platform. Uh, and I've had like at least I've had one of those situations with someone in indie RPGs, but they were like kind of on the periphery. For the most part, people are like really cool, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I also think if that were true in TTRPGs, that that entire category of people was invisible, then we would not have any TTRPGs.
Yeah, no, that's real.
There, there's not a lot of not a whole lot of huge accounts, even among the people that I think you and I would talk about as being like super involved and super connected to everything. Um, and I also think that like something that gets lost sometimes when we talk about tabletop role playing games, and which of course also comes up a lot, is that we are the very small niche
Hmm.
within even printed media or even like even the idea of interactive games. And even the largest you can hit is I was actually thinking about this when I was thinking about a topic we're going to talk about later today, so maybe I should hold it until we get to our topic.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, we are small but fairly loud, and sometimes a little annoying, I think, in a good way. Um, I enjoy being annoying. I think like it's good that it I feel the same way about this that I feel about like trans women calling cis guys eggs, I guess, where it's like even if it's a little annoying and like maybe a bit mean, I would almost rather have that than like people not realize that they don't want to play D&D or don't want to be a man. um, you know what I mean? Or don't want to be a woman. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
and I think yeah, I think it's important to be like to I I think that there are a lot of people who can sometimes make like indie folks feel shamed for being a little bit loud, but like we're not that many people. Like the things that we're being loud about, not many other people are talking about.
Yeah, yeah, and like loud. Like, what does that even
Yeah,
really mean
true.
online? Like, it's hard for me to see. It's hard for me to see a world where the indie TTRPG community is going to do much to you that you can't very easily avoid if you would like. I
Right.
can't. I can't think of any way that if I wanted to tomorrow, I could probably completely vanish the indie TTRPG community from my life. It is not very large and it is limited in scope where we are able to even communicate. So, uh, yeah, hopefully that's a more minor that's as minor of a problem as I imagine it is.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, a trans woman who made a game called Hellfucker 99 told me to stop playing D&D. What how dare they? Um so yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's good. Um yeah. We can get into stories. We have some longer ones this time, so I feel like it's we can get into it. Um
Let's do it.
I have a lot of thoughts on oh gosh, what order do we want to do these in? Because like the first one I have a lot of thoughts on. The second one is just kind of like, huh, that's interesting. The third one is, hey, look at all this stuff. I think we should hit the first one first. I think it's like big, and
Sure, let's do it.
I have a lot of feelings about it. um,
I'm very curious. I'm interested to hear.
yeah, so we're going to talk about a thing that literally happened just today, and we rearranged the story order to accommodate it. One More Multiverse is shutting down. Um, hang on, I'll pull up the statement on their website as well. Um, there's gonna be 90 days to save anything that folks have made in it, uh, and that's gonna be it. For those who don't know, One More Multiverse was a pixelated virtual tabletop that had partnerships with things like Blades in the Dark, Eusebius Bed and Breakfast, and whatever that like kind of anthropomorphic animal D&D thing was. I forget what it's called. Um, and this is really surprising. Well, I mean, okay, uh, I have complicated feelings about it because I think it's Humblewood. That's right. I think it's surprising, but also not surprising, if that makes sense. Um, I, I think like the thing that I'll start with is like I really hope I really hope that like this shutting down. I'm curious if this shutting down means that the company is going under, or like what they're gonna do with the company. Um, and B, I am like hoping that the folks who I'm hoping this isn't a surprise for folks who work for OMM. I hope that they're able to like, you know, get back on their feet after this. Because like they made a really cool thing, you know, with the resources that
Yeah.
they were given. I really liked OMM while it was available. I thought it was a really unique tool. Um, and I also feel bad for like, you know, folks who trusted and, you know, believed in like the longevity of this. I guess to I think it's probably better just to put this out in front, rather than like trying to talk around it. Like you and I are both friends with Jay, um,
Hmm.
and like, you know, very clearly because, you know, Eusebius was first available on OMM. Like it sucks to have that. you know, it's a fucking curveball. It's a really big nasty curveball to have you know a thing basically like have the what is ostensibly the main digital version of your game uh go up then vanish within the time that it takes to get the physical game out.
Well, to
You know,
be clear, I don't know how Jay feels about it. I don't know how anybody who worked on Uzebas feels about it, so I don't want
yeah,
to
that's
imply
true.
that I that I have any idea how they feel. Um,
I'm just saying,
but I
if
think,
I were in Jay's position, I would be, yeah.
yeah, yes, no, I agree, and I think that there's stuff about that that's very tough. Stuff about that
Mm,
that was probably very exciting that is now feeling a little bit taken away. My biggest concern right now, honestly, is about the future of a lot of these assets.
mm,
We have like, especially for Yazebas, part of what makes it sad for Yazebas specifically is that if one more multiverse was made for any game, like to work well with any game, it was a game like it's like it's like Possum Creek like came along and created the perfect game to work in a system like One More Multiverse, like a kind
mm.
of high upfront work requirement, but a bunch of settings and situations that are relatively predictable. Um, a way and the ability to invest in a really dense way in a particular area and a particular set of characters that could really pay off, that early investment. Um, and so thinking about that stuff disappearing is where I have the toughest. It's hardest for me to think about where I'm like, I don't actually know the full extent, but I'm like, will there ever be a way for me to download all of those visual assets and play Yazebas using them still, just not on a server or maybe like on my own computer? Are those artists going to continue to be able to share that work and use it? That's the kind of stuff that has me most worried about this, just like when any like video game style company goes down. Um, but I'm hoping because this is a smaller company, as far as I know, they are using like venture capital. They are like kind of a startup style company, but I'm hoping that unlike larger video game companies, they can do some more interesting and generous stuff with those assets.
Yeah, I don't often like try and look too much into these stories because like I'm not, you know, I'm trying to get like what's publicly of well, what is like out there like what is being like publicly released. I did do some like research and like uh reading and like communication tracking for this one. So I do have some like additional knowledge that I might as well talk about. Um,
Sure.
so a couple things about this. To my understanding, the music for Zeeb is PCGs. It belongs to Possum Creek Games. Um, there were some conversations about these assets being released in some capacity, both for Zeeb and for other stuff. OMM is kind of like talking about that. We don't know much about it. Um, on the actual like system front, basically what they said is it is an Electron or yeah, Electron like browser plugin. Um, so it is very very hard to. Uh, Basically, what they've said is like it would cost a lot of money and time that they don't necessarily have to turn the actual interface into a like open source or freely usable
Yeah.
tool, and also the like, a fan server would not be viable considering the costs that they had. Um, so some additional things might happen, but also like the things that folks and a lot of this is from me just reading through like what folks who are from OMM are saying in their Discord,
Hmm.
in the OMM Discord. Um, a lot of what they're saying seems to imply that it might not be possible for them to to they might be able to archive the actual resources, but the thing itself is probably going to go away, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yes. And that's definitely expected, but it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. This was really cool. I mean, honestly speaking, just for myself, the like reveal of the way the One More Multiverse Uzeba pack worked felt
Mhm.
like a kind of magic, like, oh, is this the way sort of moment? Like, is this what we need? Like,
Yeah.
for me personally, I don't engage very much with virtual tabletops. I don't really like them. I don't have a very good relationship with them because I think their result is often very beautiful and very useful, but requires an added level of work during prep that I don't find fulfilling, mostly because I have a lot of other stuff I want to be working creatively on. So my relationship to other virtual tabletops, not very deep, not very extensive. Looking at this one was when I started to feel that feeling of like, oh, here is where I might fit in to using it. Like here is where we might bridge the gap between something being engaging and visual and interesting in a unique way while still allowing me to interface with it as a tabletop game. And I don't think that it is especially tragic for this in particular to not have like magically made millions of dollars right away on the back of a couple of games that they were able to invest a lot of time into. But it is a little bit sad to me that it wasn't magic, right? That
Mhm.
it didn't perfectly magically become this amazing flawless thing that I could continue to engage with forever.
Yeah. I am also not a big fan of a lot of VTTs, and I think like this was the one where it was like I would do a like rules light game in this because it's just like it's got that like you know it's got that Ponytown Club Penguin Habbo Hotel like you're just gonna
Yes.
be in a world with other people, um, and it's a shame to have lost that, and also I think I I guess this is kind of my cynical my more cynical take on this, which is like this really rings. This has like some Ticketmaster vibes to me, a little bit, um, where I think there is maybe a bit of a confidence issue here, um, where this was not like I think the artists and the promotional folks and the programmers and all the folks who are actually doing the work believed in this thing. Um,
Hmm.
I question some of the business decisions that were made, and I almost kind of wonder if this was a sink or swim sort of thing, where it was like this thing either needs to survive off of a couple of, you know, high quality game packs, or it needs to die. Um, and I don't think the executives probably cared which outcome came because they were going to get a golden parachute no matter what. Um, this is just this is speculation, to be clear, but this is kind of my thought process on it because it really rings to me of like I think
Can you tell me what you meant by Ticketmaster?
yeah or no, sorry, not Ticketmaster. What was the name of the what was the name of the app that was like you could get like a couple of movie tickets a month and it was like basically like it was like
Movie
$5 a
Pass?
month. Movie Pass, yeah, sorry, not Ticketmaster, Movie Pass. um it kind of makes me like I think this was a great service that was seeking a business model and a uh it was a great service seeking a revenue stream, and I think that revenue stream didn't necessarily come. That is kind of my speculation on it. Um, I'm sure at some point this stuff will come out, um, but I was frankly getting this vibe before this happened that like something was that this was a that this was a balloon rather than a sandbag. You know what I mean? Um, and
Sure.
I
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that I mean this style of business is like it is startups. This is
Mhm.
just the way that they work is exactly as how you describe, which is that they receive funding and then they have an imaginary amount of time decided by the people who gave the funding to reveal whether or not they will turn that funding into more money. Um, and if they don't do that before those people get scared or before something in the economy shifts and they need to pull all their money out, then the things go under. And I, as much as it would be, like you said, like as the people that worked on this clearly really cared about it and wanted to make it something good. And I think as much as it would be easy or nice to be able to sort of say like, well, it was a bad choice or whatever. Like they shouldn't have gone with venture capital. There's so many ideas like this and concepts like this that simply won't work on a smaller scale.
Mhm.
They just aren't the only way that you break past um, something like Rule 20, for example, that's already kind of entrenched itself as um, the mediocre all the time option. uh,
Yeah.
is like getting past something like that and making something with this level of like production and like value for people requires a lot of upfront money, and if it doesn't have a way to make money, then it is just not going to survive either way. But I think you never know. Without the capital, we probably never would have even gotten this Yuzebas pack.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Um, yeah, which is why I say my perspective is a bit perhaps a bit cynical, because like I think you're absolutely right that like this would not have happened if it didn't happen this way, probably. Um,
But I don't at all mean that this is a good system.
no, not at
it's
all.
not.
Yeah.
It's no good. It's not good for companies. It would be great if we were able to like give people actual genuine runway. If we were able to, um, I mean, more than anything else, we would see projects like this. We would see cool, interesting, amazing projects for much lower budgets if a lot of people were able to do this kind of work and still put food on their table, right? So
Yeah.
there's like there's a lot of other factors that would make equally cool and interesting things happen that are more systemic, but assuming we're in a terrible system, it's nice to look at it and be like, at least we got this for a while.
Yeah, I think we also live in a time of pretty significant like server scarcity, um, and like I could certainly see that having an impact on this, where you know, uh, generative content, you know, engines and mills are grabbing up servers wherever they can. Um, I don't know enough about like the specifics of like what sort of servers they were using versus what sorts of servers are used for that sort of content, but I would not be surprised. Um, but again,
It's
it's
possible if I
speculation.
was making a real, yeah, if I was making a real guess, it's almost always about paying people. It's almost always
Absolutely.
about
Yeah.
it's almost always about having to pay human beings and how much they're worth and how expensive that is, especially over a long time. So my guess would be that it were servers maybe are a portion of it, and but I'm guessing a lot of it is
Mostly
going to
about
come down
people.
to
Yeah.
yeah, people, team being too big for what
Yeah.
they could handle.
Yeah. So it's sad. Was there anything else in this? Oh yeah. I wanted to direct folks to the fact that you can get Uzebas as an itch game now. My understanding is folks that had it on OMM will receive it uh, in some capacity on on itch. So yeah. I hope. I guess just yeah. I'm wishing for the best for everybody in this situation. Besides the execs, like everybody who worked on something or did something in this situation. Um,
I bet on this. I don't know the team makeup, but I would bet even the executive team on this project are involved with the creatives. It's going to be
yeah, that's probably true.
investors that are going to be the more stressful,
Yes.
foreboding part of it. But this is the part, this page, this existing, and the immediate transition that we're undergoing
Mhm.
that keeps me from being too sad about it, because at the end of the day, I only really cared about Yuseba's in this
Mhm.
network. Like I'm sad that this whole company is going down, but in terms of actually playing with what was there right now, Yuseba's was the big one for me. And so remembering that at the end of the day, this was a bonus layered on top of an incredible game made to be played like this with a PDF or with a book has me not too sad.
Yeah, and I also think like this is a very like the I don't know what the timeline on this looks like, but I it they this was definitely a like getting this up so quickly was a very good move. And I hope this is an opportunity for folks to buy Uzebas who never bought Uzebas in the past. And yeah, that's that's all I got on this. It's a bit of a messy situation, But yeah. Next topic is a bit of I guess a bit of a lighter one, a bit of like a bit of a head tilt, a bit of like a hmm. Uh, so something that I've observed, and this is like not really a huge observation, but I think it is like notable for just the clustering of them right now. Um, there's so many fucking uh, there's so many fucking uh like sponsored RPGs coming out. There's a Neopets one, there's the Secret World one, there was the Tomb Raider one. Um, I I I I, people like RPGs. It turns out. I guess that's the main thing. Um, I just thought it was really interesting because I like one of the first stories that we did on the Dovecote was like about the Final Fantasy 14 RPG, and I think like I tend to be really cynical about these sorts of games, but they do really pull in numbers. Oh, there's the Adventure Time D&D thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what else? There's I'm sure that there are more, but like it is interesting that um I guess like when I think of like high profile things that like funded really well, I think of the Avatar: The Last Airbender game. Um,
Yes, I've got it behind me.
yeah, and I kind of wonder like how much of an influence that had on um on like this kind of influx now, because these things take a while to make. Um, but then again, like I kind of feel like even before I started doing the Dovecote, there were a lot of these coming out. But I do kind of think Zygmunt Thotep is right. I think we are kind of going back to the 80s. I think we're going back to like here's the 10th Star Wars book, you know?
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say is that it's always been pretty deep in the DNA of the TTRPG scene, these licensed games. But yeah, especially Star Wars is what I thought of too. That's like the big one. And I do when you talk about the Avatar game maybe affecting it, I bet you're right that that has something to do with these being able to be pitched.
Mhm.
I bet the Avatar one is a really great piece of information to give to somebody in charge and be like, hey, I want to work on a TTRPG anyway. What if we did one for this IP we have attachment to and you paid us all to do it because we have evidence that people care? Um, when we talk about why people care though or why they do well, I have a pretty I have a pretty obvious maybe and strong theory about that,
Hmm.
which is that something that we all, not we all, many of us, get very invested in and become very interested in doing is learning about something we like, learning the trivia about it, learning the uh, details such that we can feel like we know this place very well. And like we've seen throughout fandom, both the good and the bad, of people becoming really invested and attached to the idea that knowledge of a certain thing gives them power in a space about a thing. And I think there is almost no comparable example of knowledge of a thing giving you power over a thing than a tabletop game in a particular IP. Because there
Hmm.
is a clear and immediate dynamic that comes from stepping into a table of people talking about or playing a role playing game set in a particular setting that invites you to express your pre existing knowledge and rewards you for it in a particular way. So
Yeah.
I just think there's a really clear path from general fandom brain to that being really rewarding.
I think hang on, I just realized I didn't send out the other bird. And send in Cordis the news bird who's coming in from the moon. They have just a beautiful castle on the moon. Um, I think there's also an element of it that's like kind of adjacent to what you're saying, which is like there aren't a lot of like secondary materials for like games and media and like movies these days that like do some of the kind of like lore making that you see. Like I think of like um I mean, Star Wars still does this, but like the like Star Wars encyclopedias, or like Hyrule Historia, for example. Um, like I think that like you know, having a book that like gives you information on how to like GM a world and like potentially tells you new information about that world is like probably compelling to some folks. Um,
Yeah,
that
Star
is
Wars
certainly an
was the
angle.
great example. There's so many people now who know so much about Star Wars because of the old role-playing books,
Yeah,
functioning as encyclopedias.
and a lot of stuff that was drawn from the role playing books into games and movies and comics and uh, yeah, I definitely think there's like a fun overlap there. Um, and you get a lot of like I know like there's definitely some like smaller scale versions of this. There's like the Die RPG, which I know um, obviously like can involved folks who are actually involved in making the Die comic,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I found interesting. Uh, and
I like it. I like it because I think when it comes to ways to engage with a fandom and ways to interact with something you like, I really like that there is a whole swath of people very invested in making that thing generative. It's
hmm,
almost an invitation toward fan fiction in a way that we, would never see really like expressly or obviously. And fan fiction obviously a great transformative process for a lot of fiction and for a lot of people to learn how to write and create on their own with the backing of this kind of fandom level like knowledge and built-in community. So transitioning that same kind of thinking into something generative like a TTRPG rather than just like, a cool Lego set
hmm.
that you do once and then forget about or um, is like a nice thing. I think probably the people in business control of these places and businesses are hoping that it just contributes to your attachment such that you then go buy the Lego set. Um, but I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing as long as we are aware that it's happening.
Yeah, and I also think like that there's a lot of opportunity to use these books and these games to like tell stories that these these media things wouldn't normally tell. Um,
Yes.
to tell queer stories or like I feel like in the case of Star Wars, it's always like telling more actually revolutionary stories.
Mm-hmm.
And
Stories that aren't human centric are a big part of Star Wars role playing.
yeah, absolutely. Um,
Uh,
yeah, big fan.
yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think yeah, I think that the invitation to do that is really nice. And what we know from the indie RPG scene is that you don't actually need an invitation. Oh yeah, as
Mm,
Zane the Dev and the Duchess said, some of us go wacky and just make a fantasy RPG. Like, Triangle Agency is not actually like a direct translation of Control or like fan game of Control, but it is something
mhm.
that a lot of people think about it or like approach it, and it is a huge influence on what we did. And I know for a fact a huge part of why we did well is because people who are big fans of Control approached it that way. But I think that like the the thing that's awesome about having something placed in front of you that is a little more like professional, distributed through professional channels and created by these people with this big stamp of approval on it is that it allows the people who have not taken the time or have not been given from some channel like the hand that invites them to come play, having something like that, having something like the Avatar RPG that's just like, remember, you can think about it too. Like you don't actually have to sit and absorb. You can also think about it and create within it. Um, I think it's really nice, regardless of where it comes from. But uh, the Neopets one, I'm just like personally a little mad about because I should be working on it.
Yeah, they should have. They have your number. Like, come on.
I should personally be working on it right now, this second. So please let me
Yeah,
in.
let Caleb
Um,
in, please. Thank you,
right.
smiles. Um, yeah, I games are fun. Games are cool. It's cool that it's cool that we have that we can have both like the official version of a thing and then also like the indie kind of pastiche version of it. I think that's really fun.
It's great. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and the last thing is, I just there's so many wonderful things coming out and happening that I had to do a bit of a bulletin board this week. Um, I want to talk first about there are two kind of angles to this. This is the Big Bad Con Scholarship Fund. Um, so, two elements to this. One, if you don't intend to go to Big Bad Con, uh, you should donate to this because it allows people who aren't able to go to Big Bad Con to go to Big Bad Con. If you plan on going to Big Bad Con or want to go to Big Bad Con, but you can't go to Big Bad Con, you should apply so that you can get one. So you can get a scholarship. Um, it's neat. I one thing that I thought was really interesting is uh, 2015 4, 2016 7, 11, 13, 20. No in person for 2020, yeah, 20 to 2021, and then 9 awards, 69 awards. So clearly, like something spiked in 2023, um, and
That's awesome.
yeah, it's great. I personally applied for it because I'm unemployed and would love to go to go to more conventions. Um, but yeah, I recommend folks who are like interested in making TTRPG connections or like creating and playing like get in there because it's a really cool idea. Um,
I need to look at going to Big Bad Con this year. Haven't thought about it. It's just so close to PAX Unplugged over here on my side of the country.
yeah, it's the vicinity is really. I was like I've never even been to that side of the country. I'm an East Coast girl. So one day one day I'll get out there. Um, but yeah.
Totally
Next.
agree.
Oh yeah,
Donate to this. And also last year, like, was part of the thing being that there were 69 people. Um, Last year was also the first year that I started to really hear people talk about Big Bad Con in a really unique way, which is that it is a convention that seems to be really highlighting and creating a great environment for designers and creators to talk to one another, like not just selling and not just selling and purchasing and not just like delivering information and receiving it, but providing a good solid and chill ground for connections to be made and for designers to get to know each other in a way that, like, at the other cons I've been to, usually happens as a result of people planning around and outside of the con. But I think at this one I've heard really, really interesting things about the way that it's structured being really positive.
hell yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm hoping, fingers crossed that I'm able to get in there because it seems really
I hope
cool.
so too.
Yeah. Okay. Next is a game. Disclosure: I am working on this. Island of Dr. Moreau. Y'all should donate or back this project. It is a transformation TTRPG in the To Change system by Ulysses Duckler and Duck and Ewan. Um, and it is a like a Dr. Moreau inspired um, like adventure weird horror game where you're like people who are trapped on an island, what is supposed to be an island resort, and it turns out you are being transformed into half human, half beasts. Um,
So good. This
yeah.
threw me so back seeing that it was based on a Gaia Online forum
Yes.
roleplay board. That was like my life for years was Gaia Online forum roleplay boards. Now over a decade ago, but uh whenever I saw this on your list and I was like scrolling through it and thinking about it, and as soon as I read the premise, I could see the shape of how that worked on the boards too. Like
Yeah.
I knew it deep down. I can see the bones of that hiding in there. I Yeah, I think that's amazing. I miss that kind of text role play so much, and I love the idea that this what's clearly a very beautiful and interesting and weird and unique story and setting is getting translated in this way for other people to get to see. It's so cool. I wish we need to do that with one of the main ones that I was on.
Yeah. Something that's really also very like eclectic about this, which I really enjoy, is there's so much. So like Duck, who's my friend, uh, went out of his way to like find the people who did the art, like the like fan art for that original form role play, and so there's like some really like strange and like old school internet art in this, that I think is really really
Yes.
fantastic. Um,
That's actually going to be a theme of both of these that we're about to talk about.
oh
Old
yeah,
school
true.
internet art.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, it looks so neat. I love the idea of the split playbooks between what you know about the characters you're playing and what the island is secretly keeping about them.
Mhm.
Seems really, really cool. And I want there to be like an infinite number of Yuziba's style characters built in that you trade and talk about and swap between. I need like a million of them stat, so I'm happy to see another one.
Yeah, it's really good. Um, speaking of the intersection of things that are inspired by form roleplay, and this is like this game has been made very much in parallel with Sapphic World. Like me and Duck have been like trading notes a lot. Um, so a lot of things that are in this are also kind of parts of Sapphic World or vice versa. Um,
That's so cool.
yeah, I think folks will enjoy that when they get this. So yeah, give that a look. And then last is Charlotte Laskowski's Happy 99.
Yes.
Charlotte Charlotte, not to be okay. I'll give my I'll give my my hyperbolic opinion, and then I'll give my actual opinion.
A true opinion.
Charlotte, the only
True opinion is
person
the
doing any
hyperbolic
sort of
one.
art in the TTRPG space, is my hyperbolic opinion. My actual opinion is Charlotte's art is fucking awesome, and I really love just the style and like approach to everything. That's very like technical and kind of like interfacey. I mean, obviously this one is like leaning hard in that direction, but I think even like Celestial Bodies has a lot of that. Um, and yeah,
Charlotte's work is amazing. My experience with Charlotte over the last year that is kind of hilarious is I will like put in work on an idea. I'll be thinking about something, a style. I'll be like, oh, this will be fun. And I'll do the like baby early version of it. And then it's like I look over at Charlotte's paper and she's like already done with whatever that thing would be, the most cool version of it.
yeah, it also has a really good trailer. I'm just gonna play a little bit of it. This was made in fucking Canva, by the way, so you know.
Yes.
Um, hey, I'll skip forward a little bit just so y'all can see some of the like. It's really good. There's gonna be a soundtrack on a DV on like a CD for this. I'm I'm excited for this. Folks should you should back this now. Okay, smiles.
The art is amazing. The energy is great. It is about hacking. There's currently a PvP version of the game that you can play. That's a trial of the game's mechanics available on itch.io right now.
Let me find that.
It is on its way to its $7,000 goal, so you absolutely should go back it if you haven't already. I have already backed it. The both Charlotte and Snow are doing some really, really amazing and interesting and poetic and beautiful work in this space, and I just love them.
Yeah,
I love them, and I love it.
I also Jess is doing some stuff for this.
Oh yes, I
As a
forgot about
stretch goal.
that.
Yeah,
Wow.
really cool.
Community.
Yeah, what else is that's it. That's the news, baby. Um
Now that's the news.
and that's
We
the
reported the
news.
news.
We've reported Oh, is that the is
We reported the news.
we reported the news. We reported the news. It's the airplane
Yes.
thing. Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Um all right. So, let's
Yeah,
take
we got one.
you wanna take 5 and we'll come back for emails?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. We'll be back at 08, and we'll see you then. Please
See you
send
soon,
emails to
friend.
darlingdemoneclipse@gmail.com. I don't have any questions right now, so
Ask me a question.
or ask them directly in the chat. Either or. All right. We will be right back.
Bye.
This one. Oh wait, hang on. Where are the mics? Hello, we're back. And we've received a question. So we're gonna start answering those. Also, I'm gonna bring in Apocrypha, the email bird. Um, I did say before this stream that I would not forget the birds, and then I did, basically. So this is just kind of a feature of the show at this point. It's not a bug. Um, Zygmunt Thotep asks, since they're coming back in vogue, what's an officially licensed TTRPG you'd like to see come out, purely for the absurdity of its existence?
I'm I'm using my brain, I'm channeling psychically all the things that I can think of that would be wild. The first one that came to my mind though, and I have to be honest, is Homestuck.
Homestuck's pretty good, yeah.
That's the first one that it came to my mind was that dropping that right now would be the funniest thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
Suddenly in 2024, dropping a Homestuck TTRPG like now would be truly, I would the pleasure that would give me just on a pure watching it happen, and I would get it.
I think,
Would be
and
amazing.
I think a Star Wars FFG expansion specifically for the ninth Star Wars movie would be would be pretty
Well, see,
wild
well,
right
that would
now.
be good because then everybody could have the like somehow you returned move.
Right, yeah.
That would be really, that would be key. I
Yeah.
okay, what if this year they released the Wicked TTRPG, the tie-in with the movie, setting you in Oz,
It's pretty good.
Wicked TTRPG.
Wicked teacher. That's so funny because that it's not like Alice or it's not Wizard of Oz. It is Wicked. So like
It
the
is
the Wicked
Wicked.
rules apply.
Yeah, and I would say even like you could go further and just base not even base it on the musical, like just base it on the book, the like more
Right.
freaky, wild one. And I think what's funny about that is that it's not honestly a very high magic setting. So it's like
Yeah.
everybody wants to be a witch, and it's like, sorry, you can be the Munchkin Mayor, I
It's
guess.
really funny.
Wicked
Okay.
would be great.
Uh Breaking Bad slash Better Call Saul Albuquerque verse TTRPG. uh
Okay, so that one I don't trust. I wouldn't look at it. If I heard
no, it's
that, I would be
scary.
like, I can't actually look at this because I can't imagine anyone trying to distill playbooks out of that. I
It's
think I
also
would
gonna
play
be a
the
little
indie game that was.
racist.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, there's, it's got. If you try,
Like,
you're
to be
gonna come
clear,
out of that.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul aren't like that racist, but like the RPG would be really racist.
It would, yeah, yes, and it would just because a lot of what Breaking Bad gets away with is sort of like specificity and hand wavy, like, well, it's just this one cartel, it's just this
Mhm.
one place. But when you start trying to be like, here are the rules of this world and all the ones that would need to
Yeah.
matter to those people, that is when it would start getting dangerous.
Uh,
Um, this is a great question though. I'm loving thinking about this.
yeah, it's really fun.
Well, for me personally, if you actually wanted me to be happy and if you wanted to give me a job, a Sonic the Hedgehog one,
Oh
it's time.
yes, yes, yes,
It's
yes, yes,
time.
yes, yes, yes.
One of my secrets about me is I have a more than 50 episodes Sonic the Hedgehog podcast sitting there waiting for people to listen to from a few years ago.
Oh shit.
And uh I'm a huge fan of Sonic. And I have so many good ideas for how you would do it, how you would do a TTRPG or a board game or something that really captured the vibe. Mostly I think of like storytelling party games actually that would work well with Sonic.
Mhm.
But that's the real one. Do I think it would be amazing? No, I think it would be hard to make it very good. But I do think you could make it and it would be, for the same reasons that the fandom is incredible, extremely successful. Extremely successful as long as you paired it with a good character creator. That's the only thing you need.
Yeah, I would say some sort of like, hmm.
Zygmunt Thotep, you don't need rules for that because they already have it within themselves. That's the
Right,
magic of
things you.
TTRPGs. No rules required.
Yeah, I feel like so I've not played a Half-Life game. However, I feel like I know enough about Half-Life just from like cultural osmosis. I think a Half-Life like general RPG would be good. Specifically, my pitch for it is the the like way that your characters fight aliens versus the way that they fight soldiers would be like fundamentally different. like the mechanics would be different for fighting them,
Hmm.
because like when you fight, at least in the first Half-Life game, when you fight the aliens, it's just, it's point and shoot. When you fight the soldiers, it is like more about like where you are and like maybe not even potentially killing all of them. Um, I think that would be a really fun, a really fun like thing to try and work into an RPG.
The only thing that I know about if you were to set me down and be like, make a Half-Life RPG, I'd be like, stat number one, wrench. And that's as
Mm,
far as I would get. That's all I know.
gotta have your crowbar. Yeah.
A crowbar, see? It was
Yeah.
not even a wrench. This is what I'm saying. I yeah, not something I know anything about.
I, Dragon Age RPG, but it's based like based on it's not the Dragon Age RPG that exists, which is like they were trying to work D&D 4e into
Yeah.
like Dragon Age Origins. It's like Dragon Age. It's supposed to be a game that you can play through like a Dragon Age Origins to Inquisition arc with. So like it has like acts that like significantly change the characters and like the type of character and character like abilities that you play with. Like Act One would be more of like a traditional RPG. Act Two would be more of like a Blades in the Dark style heist game, and then Act Three would be more of like a kingdom builder. Um,
I agree with you that that would be really cool. I think
it would never
my
happen.
it would be very hard. It would be very hard because that's three games that you described.
Yeah.
But what I want is a Dragon Age game that's actually more like Good Society.
Mm.
Like straight up the party sequence in Inquisition just being the whole game. Like we are negotiating for the politics. We are like making arranged marriages between people in terrible situations. We are, uh, you know, dealing with these different factions and trying to navigate around, a chosen one narrative happening off in the distance somewhere. That's like that's the dream for me. I have like a secret thing right now though where I'm kind of obsessed with the idea of like the Model UN RPG. Like
Right.
I'm desperate and I need to make it and for like a series of TTRPGs. I think part of what's got this going for me is the Wizard game because this is really Wizard game's really close. It's
Yeah,
so
it's
close.
pretty close.
But I want an RPG that is about a bunch of people having to negotiate over the future of a place and then systematizing what their decisions do to that place to create more questions that have to be addressed in future sessions.
Mm.
Um, and to deal with the feelings and difficulties and interesting distance that comes from representative politicking, I think would be a really, really interesting TTRPG angle. So I've been thinking about that a lot. And I think Dragon Age, big fantasy setting, all this big lore around it, great for that.
There's something
Great for
there.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Fallout
I was
RPG,
gonna.
but good. Sorry, people who've worked on Fallout RPG. I
I
don't.
don't know anything about that one.
I don't like
I've not seen
2d20.
it.
I think what are you? Why would you? It's a silly set of dice.
Hmm. I can't talk about silly sets of dice because glass houses, glass
Yeah, fair.
triangular houses. I can't do
Yeah.
it. I'm making everybody roll 6d4 every time they play my game.
Caves of
So
Cud TTRPG. That would be pretty good.
it would be really fun if you could play a Caves of Cud TTRPG that you really are just like hooked up to a Caves of Cud prompt generator and you all just have to deal with whatever it throws at you. That would be
Right.
amazing.
Yeah, I can see that.
The I love all of these ideas. I think we've actually pretty much printed $1 million during this
Yeah, this
conversation
is like
already.
so much money. Someone should pay us
So
it.
literally, like, if you take any of these, I need actually my rights. But
Yeah.
there was one other that I was going to mention. It was around the time we were talking about Dragon Age. Now I'm trying to think of what it would have
Oh,
been. The, um, I was thinking about Good Society. I was thinking about
Model UN.
Model UN. It was prior to that though, so I'm doing it backwards. I'm not doing
Okay.
the useful part. I don't know. Whatever. Like the thing that I am the thing that I'm most seeking right now in TTRPGs is really reflected in the game that I'm making, Triangle Agency, which is that I am really interested in how TTRPGs provide us a unique space to talk about and discuss power
Hmm.
and agency as people, because what we are doing as a table, what we are doing when we sit down, is all having to negotiate over with rules and with each other about our personal expression and power over a space, like an imaginary space. And so I think while that's usually a secondary part of games, like it's a part of the playing of them, I've been really interested lately in games that make that part of the game text. Like, how are we navigating um, the power dynamic of control over a fictional environment?
Hmm.
And I think that's a huge part of why I've been thinking about the Model UN thing, but that like makes IP specifically attractive because it gives you that basis of like the object we're manipulating and attempting to control and adjust is so solid for all of us that is really difficult to get in a brand new TTRPG.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think like um a lot of my first like TTRPG experience was with like the Quiet Year and what was
Hmm.
the name of that? Oh god, I think it was Pantheon, which was like a uh it was a Firebrands like that I enjoyed. Um, but yeah, I think broadly like that is an area that I really want to see more games kind of touch on. Is that sort of like political and geopolitical, and also like like I think that can be personal as well, like the sort of dynamic between the control that we have over our characters and the control they have over themselves and the world around them. It's games are good, basically.
That,
Yeah,
yeah, it all comes down to that.
pretty much. Um, God, Metal Gear, like Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, I think specifically, I would point towards. I think there's something like there's some potential for some cool guys with swords cutting up some big robots in RPGs, I think.
If they publish that, they would need to use the greeting card technology to give me a button on the cover that goes brown.
Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah. Does anyone have other questions? Also, diving into emails. I have not received any emails. Um,
I'm trying to think if I have any questions for you.
yeah, feel free. I'll answer any question you have. I love questions. What's this? Rule books of nature. That's really good, Duck. Uh, that's really funny. Yeah. Um, I will also think if I have any additional questions for you. Um,
Please.
um,
I'm trying to think right now. I've become sidetracked thinking about what would be an IP I think it would be impossible to make one from.
oh yeah, that's a
Like,
good.
what is something that's been so successful in its own medium that a TTRPG would actually uh not be possible? It's so specific.
Katamari Damacy, I think would be difficult.
Yeah, that's true.
Although,
That's
as I say
true.
that, I'm imagining the like, you have tables and stuff. Like there's something there, but also I do think it'd be difficult. Um,
Yeah, there's things you could do, but I don't know if you would get much out of those things
yeah, I think the
after you
genre
did
is the
them.
interactivity in some ways.
Yeah, you're right. Video games are going to be a lot of this because even and also Katamari, the world of it is not providing like an unusual, like a new map for how to think about things. Unless,
Yeah,
again, model you in. We are in space. We are the king of all cosmos and all the princes. We're picking who goes to what planet,
right. Yeah,
what to do with the ones that have been turned into stars.
it's good. What are some impossible ones? Impossible adaptations. I'm thinking about like films and books.
Madam Web also coming to Netflix this week, so just
Right.
just a plug for everybody.
Yeah, make sure you get on that. Make sure you webheads
I
give
was
that a
there
look.
day one.
I've not
I
seen it.
saw, I saw Madam Web day one. Her web connects me. Her web connects us all. So
Damn.
so that one. I want to see a Madam Web teach RPG, please.
Yeah. I. What about like a theory book? What about like Dead? Like, I'm just thinking of like books that I've read recently. I feel like debt would be difficult. Um,
Yes, Molly, her web connects us all.
her
The
web
main
connects us
mechanics in
all.
the main mechanics in the Madam Web TTRPG would be actually about driving cars. That's the most of what she does. Is she drives cars in that movie.
She has a taxi, to my understanding, right?
For part of the movie, she has a taxi, but she destroys 3 cars in that movie, and she upgrades gradually to bigger cars over the
She's
course
like
of the movie.
she's like the Mandalorian in season one.
Well, actually, that's not
There's
true. She goes through a hero's journey because she starts in a fire truck or an emergency response vehicle, and then
hmm,
she goes down from that to a taxi, and then she moves from taxi to I think just a random car, and then she ends up in an ambulance. So she
I
really
see.
yes. Well, there's a CPR guideline which okay, I don't actually know for sure. Maybe you know. When I saw the CPR sequence in the movie, I thought that we had all decided collectively scientifically that CPR is not really something you do anymore. But I guess and it's a period movie. It's a period movie, so like it's not wrong that she would teach that CPR at the time, even if that is true. But I was like, do we really want to put what to my understanding is not the real CPR technique anymore on TV for a
Well,
full 10
is
minutes?
it mouth to mouth or is it just the pumping?
I think it's the pumping that you're not supposed to do, right?
Oh,
Or is it mouth to
really?
mouth that you're not supposed to do? Maybe I'm wrong and it's
I
just mouth to mouth you're not supposed to do.
I learned pumping like, let me think. I was a senior in high school, so oh god, a while back. Uh, let me not give I'm trying not to give an exact year because like that Um,
Back sometime.
well, I was 18,
Madam Web
so
knows.
yeah, five-ish years ago. Uh, 5 to 10.
You're right. You're right. Mouth to mouth is the one that I thought that is that you're not supposed to do, I think, now. But I had somehow interpreted that the whole thing was the bad thing. So you know what? Um, you're right. And Madam Web actually saving lives. Actually
Yeah,
saving lives. So in
supposed to
fact,
do
it's even
the
more important that you go watch Madam Web.
staying alive pump thing. Um, it's a
Yes.
mechanic where you very clearly learn you have precognitive powers and then react with intense confusion. I need to watch this
I
movie. This sounds
um
funny.
you there is she is for a solid several seconds, like longer than some movies don't have shots this long. She's watching uh she's watching Christmas Story and like seeing Scrooge deal with the future ghost and being like, if only I could see the future. And then she immediately
God.
sees the future like 10 seconds following. And it is delicious. I think the thing that I love about that movie, sorry that that's now what this show's about, but I
No, it's
think
okay.
the thing that I love about that movie is that it doesn't feel like anybody failed to do their job. There are lots of movies that I watch now lately where I'm like, it just seems like somebody was like not interested in doing this or they weren't allowed to do something exactly the way they intended to. That movie feels like it executed exactly on a plan, precisely down to the tiniest detail. Like nothing was like messed up from what they originally intended. It's just that the original plan was not very good. And so you're watching people do something with professional intent. They're doing it. A
Yeah.
lot of the performers in it are very good and are doing the best they can, but they're all working off of something that would never have been good, even with that in mind. So you get the enjoyment of watching people who are just like absolutely straight up doing their best, but it is not working out. I think the one possible thing that was just straight up messed up is that the villain is ADR'd like the whole movie.
Oh boy.
He
That's so
I
funny.
started seeing it, and the first time he says something, I like turned to my friend and I was like, "Did he say that?" And then it kept going for the rest of the movie, where you're like, "Wait, I don't think this person's actually talking at any point."
They ADR'd
Um,
this man.
it's great. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I need to watch this now when it comes out. This seems intriguing. I might need to watch it with other humans because
Yes,
seems
yes. But
rough.
it's a delight. And my thing lately is like movies are always good for me. I have a really
Mm.
hard time not liking a movie these days.
You see the
The
pictures and you chuckle and you laugh and you smile.
Yeah.
You clap.
Yes, the train comes at me and I gasp. And that's just kind of how I interact these days. The like the only movie that I can think of at the second that I really hate is Imitation Game, which came out a decade ago almost.
Mm.
So we're really doing good. If that was the last
You've
one that
only
really made
done
me that
good.
mad.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. I think we can. I gotta eat something before I have a game at 9, so actually I think we're gonna wrap up a little early. Um, do you have anything that you'd like to besides? I mean, besides or including things I've already gestured folks towards. Do you have anything that you'd like to gesture folks towards?
Yeah, please go to preorder.hauntedtable.games. Go to check out our Kickstarter page for still the most probably like cohesive pitch for Triangle Agency. If you order Triangle Agency right now, it's going to be a little cheaper than it will be in probably around 3 weeks. Not everything is getting more expensive, but a couple of things are. And we're like, I just today placed our like big manufacturing order, so I'm stressed about it, and seeing a few notifications of purchases or pre-orders going through would be great for my mental health right now. And also for you, because the game's really good and fully off the wall, way wackier than you're imagining. This game is 300 pages, and the last 100 pages are packed full of abilities that are a secret to everyone until they're unlocked. We have one of the baseline abilities in this game is that you can just decide that something someone said is not what they said and make them say something
It's
else.
really good.
We have it's a very, very fun and weird RPG that has basically everything in it that I have ever wanted to do is all jam-packed in this one game. So there's so much to it, and I really hope you'll check it out. And then if you happen to know a 6 to 9 year old who loves Minecraft, please check out the Iron Sword Academy series, Ready Set Respawn, or more importantly, my other books, Top Elf, which is a game-related book about a competition to be Santa Claus, or Buster, which is about an anxiety service dog. Who accidentally reveals to his human that dogs have a secret underground society that has been operating for centuries. Um, that's all my stuff. But thank you.
Hell yeah. We are going to raid Potabana, who is playing old school RuneScape with Sophie Baby. Go check that out. And yeah, everybody have a great night, and I will be back next week with who's even on? Uh oh yeah, Sabrina, who's a friend of the stream, the Belmont system, and I'll also be having Spencer Campbell later that week. So be ready for that. Spencer Campbell of Guild RPGs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and have a good one, everybody. Good night, and
Good night.
see you soon.
Remember, if you don't like what you see, you can change it. It's up to you, really. Goodbye, good luck, and have fun!